Level 1. The Broken Promise. These are the wingers who arrived with hype that demanded elite production and delivered nothing but YouTube compilations of their worst touches. Whether it's a massive transfer fee or being touted as the next great talent, Level 1 is about the gap between what was promised and what actually arrived. Anthony. Manchester United paid €95 million for a player who became the definition of diminishing returns. At Ajax, under Erik ten Hag, he looked like the future of Brazilian football. Quick feet, direct running, an eye for goal. The investment thesis looked solid on paper. Then, reality arrived. In 2.5 seasons at Old Trafford, Anthony managed 12 goals and 5 assists in 96 appearances. The spin moves that once looked audacious started looking desperate. By January 2025, United cut their losses. Anthony joined Real Betis on loan, and something shifted. 9 goals, 6 assists in 26 matches. He helped Betis reach their first ever European final. By September 2025, United sold him permanently for €25 million, a €70 million loss. The expensive mistake became someone else's bargain. Ryan Babel. Liverpool's third most expensive signing when he arrived for £11.5 million in 2007. Marco van Basten said he could become the next Thierry Henry. The potential was obvious. Pace, skill, the ability to terrorize defenders when he turned it on. The problem? He rarely turned it on. In 3.5 seasons at Anfield, Babel managed 12 Premier League goals and 5 assists in 91 appearances. He drifted in and out of games. Despite obvious physical gifts, he consistently took the wrong decision. By 2011, Liverpool sold him to Hoffenheim for £5.8 million. The player who was supposed to be the next Henry became a cautionary tale about potential without application. Alejandro Garnacho. And here's where Level 1 gets uncomfortable, because Garnacho isn't without talent. The bicycle kick against Everton won the Puskas Award. The FA Cup final goal against Manchester City showed a player capable of delivering on the biggest stage. At his best, he's electric. But talent without understanding is just potential wasted. Chelsea paid £40 million in August 2025 for a player Manchester United had given up on. Not because of ability, because of application. Ruben Amorim didn't exile Garnacho from the first-team squad because he couldn't play. He did it because Garnacho couldn't play within his system. He shoots when he should pass, passes when he should shoot. Hard to combine with. Egocentric. A lot of misses in good positions. Decision-making that frustrated managers and teammates alike. At Chelsea, through mid-December 2025, Garnacho has managed 2 goals and 3 assists in 12 appearances across all competitions. For a £40 million signing, that's not good enough. The ceiling remains obvious. The execution remains absent. Garnacho could become really good, but as of today, he's a broken promise. These players arrived with expectations they couldn't meet. Whether that's a €95 million price tag or a Puskas Award that suggested greatness was coming. Level 2. The one-trick pony. You know exactly what they're going to do. So does the defender. And somehow, it still works. Sometimes. The problem is, when it doesn't, there's no plan B. These wingers built careers on a single weapon. Adama Traoré. The physical specimen who became football's greatest paradox. At full sprint, he's one of the most terrifying sights in world football. Recorded speeds of 37 kilometers per hour. Shoulders that bounce defenders into different postcodes. And then he reaches the byline. The cross goes into row Z, or hits the first defender. In over 200 Premier League appearances, Traoré has managed 16 goals and 26 assists. The underlying numbers tell a story of wasted potential. Antonio Valencia. Before his conversion to right-back, Valencia was the most predictable winger in Premier League history. He'd receive the ball wide, stop in front of the fullback, drop his shoulder, and rely on his speed to power past before hammering the ball into the box. Every single time. Most of the time, the cross got blocked, but he was good enough to be acceptable, and he had his peaks. In 2011-12, Valencia recorded 6 goals and 15 assists. He won the Sir Matt Busby Player of the Year, the Players' Player of the Year, and Goal of the Season. That was his ceiling. One devastating season where the one trick fired consistently enough to earn individual recognition. But unlike Traoré, Valencia's output justified his place in a title-challenging squad. The numbers were there, even if the creativity wasn't. David Bentley. The cautionary tale of what happens when a one-trick pony loses the trick entirely. At Blackburn, a mid-table team, Bentley's right foot was genuinely Beckham-esque. The delivery from wide areas, the whipped crosses, the set-piece expertise. In his final 2 seasons at Rovers, he produced 15 goals and 26 assists. The comparisons to Beckham weren't lazy journalism. He could cross a ball with precision that few wingers in the Premier League could match. Tottenham paid £15 million in 2008, expecting that version of Bentley. They never saw it. In 5 years at Spurs, he made just 42 Premier League appearances, 5 goals, loaned to Birmingham, West Ham, even a Russian club. Released in 2013, retired at 29, admitting he'd fallen out of love with football entirely. Level 2 is where Bentley belongs, because his peak, however brief, showed genuine quality. The Blackburn version was a legitimate Premier League winger with a weapon that worked. The Tottenham version was a ghost. Sometimes the one trick stops working, not because defenders figure it out, but because something inside the player breaks. Level 3. The flickering light. One week they're embarrassing fullbacks and trending on social media. The next week, you forget they're on the pitch. The talent is obvious, the consistency is a myth. Level 3 is the cruelest place to exist. Raheem Sterling. The question that haunts his entire career. What actually is his level? At Liverpool, he was a revelation. At Manchester City, between 2017 and 2020, he was genuinely world-class. 18 goals, then 17, then 20 across 3 Premier League seasons. Then the decline started. His final season at City saw him lose his starting spot. Chelsea paid around £50 million for a player who'd already peaked. And at Stamford Bridge, the flickering became constant dimming. By 2025, he's a player who could have been one of England's greatest ever wingers, now struggling to justify squad rotation minutes. Marcus Rashford, the local hero who burst onto the scene with a debut double against Midtjylland in 2016. That 30-goal season in 2022-23 suggested he'd finally put it all together. The next season brought 7 goals. The physical gifts remain. The consistency that separates good wingers from elite ones has never materialized. But Barcelona offered a reset. On loan since July 2025, Rashford has produced 6 goals and 8 assists in 21 appearances, rediscovering his appetite for the game and showing the professionalism that had been questioned during his final months at Old Trafford. Jeremy Doku. Manchester City paid £55 million for the Belgian in 2023. The dribbling success rate was off the charts. He completed more take-ons than anyone in Europe's top 5 leagues during his first months in England. The problem? What happens after the dribble? Doku beats defenders with remarkable regularity, then delivers crosses that find nobody. Rafael Leao. At AC Milan, he won Serie A MVP in 2022. The potential suggested he could become one of Europe's elite wingers. Then came the inconsistency. Leao went the entire 2024-25 season without scoring a single league goal at San Siro, at home. For a player valued at €100 million, former Italy coach Arrigo Sacchi has repeatedly criticized his inconsistency, calling him lazy and questioning his commitment to the collective. When he turns it on, he destroys fullbacks. The question is whether he'll turn it on at all. Level 3 players provide highlight reels that suggest greatness. Their season reviews tell a different story. Level 4. The workhorse. Managers trust them. Teammates rely on them. These wingers won't produce 30-goal seasons or dominate Champions League finals. They'll track back, retain possession, make the right pass, and deliver consistent output across a league campaign. The foundation players, the ones who rarely miss games and rarely let you down. Bukayo Saka. This placement will anger Arsenal fans. The numbers demand examination. In 2022 to 2023, Saka produced 14 goals and 11 assists. In 2023 to 2024, he managed 16 goals and 9 assists. Those are level 5 seasons, no debate. But isolated peak seasons don't define a player's level. Sustained excellence does. Here's the full picture. In 2025 to 26, Saka has registered just 1 Premier League assist in 13 appearances. The previous season was disrupted by injury, and across his career, a pattern emerges in the matches that matter most. Saka often disappears in big games. He limps through international tournaments despite England reaching 2 consecutive European Championship finals. He fades in Champions League knockout rounds. The volume is there across league seasons. The defining moments are not. The defensive contribution is genuine. The work rate never dips. Arsenal's system runs through him, and he accepts that responsibility. But level 5 requires either sustained elite production or the ability to decide matches when pressure peaks. Saka has shown flashes of both, without yet proving he belongs there permanently. Could he be level 5? Absolutely. 2 more seasons at his 2022-24 level would settle the argument. A Champions League knockout performance that lives in memory would change everything. The question is whether he reaches it consistently or remains what he currently is. An excellent winger who produces reliably without yet crossing into the tier above.
Luis Diaz. Liverpool paid around £50 million for a winger who pressed like his life depended on it, ran channels until his legs gave out, and provided the energy that made Klopp's system function. The work rate never dipped, but the end product didn't match the effort. Goals arrived in clusters, then disappeared for months. Bayern Munich signed him in July 2025 after his most productive Liverpool season. 17 goals in 50 appearances and a Premier League title. In Munich, he's currently delivering consistently. 12 goals and 6 assists in his first 19 appearances under Vincent Kompany. Whether this is the breakthrough or another purple patch remains the question. Dirk Kuyt, the ultimate workhorse winger. At Liverpool, he played everywhere across the front line, never complained, and delivered effort levels that shamed more talented teammates. His hat-trick against Manchester United in 2011 came from pure positioning and desire rather than individual brilliance. Kuyt wasn't flashy, but Rafa Benitez trusted him completely. That trust was never misplaced. The stable workhorse doesn't generate transfer rumors or dominate highlight reels. They just play, every week, without drama, and sometimes that's exactly what a team needs most. Level 5. The producer. Goals and assists, the only currency that matters. Level 5 wingers deliver returns that justify their market valuation season after season. They're reliable investments, generating consistent dividends. Robert Pires. Arsenal's French magician produced 62 goals and 41 assists in 198 Premier League appearances. The FWA Footballer of the Year in 2001-2, despite an ACL injury ending his season in March. That tells you how dominant he'd been before the injury struck. Pires delivered when it mattered internationally. A World Cup winner in 1998, a European Championship winner in 2000, providing the assist for Trezeguet's golden goal in the final. The following year, he won both the Golden Ball and Golden Shoe at the Confederations Cup. But here's the context. In that France squad, Pires was a key contributor rather than the star. Zidane was the difference maker. Henry was the finisher. Pires provided balance, creativity, and crucial moments without ever being the player opponents feared most. The Invincibles campaign for Arsenal featured exceptional production. 2 Premier League titles, 3 FA Cups, international trophies that most wingers never touch. Pires elevated teams that were already exceptional. The difference between very good and great. Son Heung-min. Tottenham's talisman delivered remarkable consistency across a decade in North London. 127 Premier League goals. Moments of individual brilliance that rank among the best the league has ever seen. That solo goal against Burnley in 2019 was genuinely world-class. Son produces. The goals arrive. The assists accumulate. For years, the trophies didn't. Then came May 2025. Son lifted the Europa League trophy in Bilbao after Tottenham's 1-0 victory over Manchester United, ending a 17-year wait for silverware. The loyalty finally rewarded. His level was always high enough for level 5. Riyad Mahrez, the Leicester title winner who became Manchester City's luxury option. At his peak, Mahrez was the Premier League's most entertaining winger. That left foot could curl balls into areas defenders couldn't reach. But at City, across 145 Premier League appearances with 43 goals and 34 assists, he was never quite essential enough to demand a starting spot. Brilliant on his day, but rarely starting the biggest matches. Pedro, the ultimate system winger. At Barcelona, Pedro scored 99 goals in 321 appearances and became the first player in history to score in every official club competition in a single season. 5 La Liga titles, 3 Champions League medals. He scored the opener in the 2011 Champions League final against Manchester United. For Spain, he won the 2010 World Cup and Euro 2012, contributing 17 goals in 65 caps. But Pedro was never the headline act. At Barcelona, he existed in the shadows of Messi, Villa, and later Neymar. Guardiola valued him for his pressing, his intelligence, his willingness to do the unglamorous work that made the system function. At Chelsea, he won another Premier League title, an FA Cup, and the Europa League, scoring in the 2019 final against Arsenal. The trophies accumulated. The individual recognition never quite followed. 9 goals in major finals across his career. World Cup winner, European champion. Yet ask casual fans, and Pedro rarely comes up first. That's level 5. Elite production, essential contribution, but never the player who defined the team. Level 6. The match winner. Some players wait for moments. Level 6 wingers create them. Mohamed Salah. Now, here's the real debate. Is Salah level 6 or level 7? Let's examine the evidence. The case for level 7 is overwhelming on paper. Over 220 goals for Liverpool, 4 Premier League Golden Boots, the highest scoring foreign player in Premier League history. In 2024-25, he broke the record for most goal involvements in a 38-game Premier League season with 47. He won the title, the Golden Boot, the Playmaker Award, and PFA Player of the Year for a record 3rd time. The numbers are genuinely historic. But consider the full picture. At Chelsea, Salah was a flop. At Roma and Fiorentina, he was good but not exceptional. Liverpool, under Klopp's specific system, created the perfect environment for Salah to thrive. Then there's the finals question. The 2018 Champions League final saw him injured early and ineffective. The 2022 final against Real Madrid brought 0 goals or assists in a match Liverpool dominated. The performances that define legacy, the moments when everything is on the line, those haven't arrived with the same consistency as his league production. David Beckham. Some see a one-dimensional crosser. The reality is far more complex. In 1998-99, Beckham delivered 9 goals and 18 assists across all competitions. He finished runner-up for the Ballon d'Or to Rivaldo. He was named UEFA Club Footballer of the Year. Those 2 corners in the Champions League final against Bayern Munich. The goal against Tottenham that clinched the title. The FA Cup semi-final strike against Arsenal. His stoppage-time free kick to take England to the World Cup. He delivered in the biggest moments of English football's greatest club season. Beyond the crossing, Beckham could beat his man. He tracked back with genuine commitment. He captained England. He played central midfield when required, which tells you something about his technical level. 265 Premier League appearances, 62 goals, 80 assists. Still in the top 10 all-time for Premier League assists. He delivered at Manchester United, Real Madrid, LA Galaxy, AC Milan, and PSG. The one-dimensional label never fit. Eden Hazard. At his Chelsea peak, Hazard was magic made physical. 2 Premier League titles, largely through his individual brilliance. Between 2012 and 2019, he completed more dribbles than any player in England. 909 successful take-ons that defenders simply couldn't stop. The 2014-15 season produced perhaps the Premier League's most complete winger, including the title clincher against Crystal Palace. The 2018-19 campaign delivered 16 goals and 15 assists, one of only a handful of players to achieve 15+ in both metrics in a single season. His transfer to Real Madrid tainted his legacy. Injuries reduced a genius to a footnote. But peak Hazard, the player who made Francis Coquelin bounce off him like a pinball before scoring against Arsenal, belongs firmly in level 6. Gareth Bale, the man for the big occasion. Champions League finals became his personal showcase. The header against Atletico Madrid that completed La Decima in 2014. The overhead kick against Liverpool in 2018, executed 2 minutes after coming on as substitute, ranks among the greatest goals in European football history. The run against Barcelona in the 2014 Copa del Rey final, outpacing Marc Bartra from the halfway line before finishing. 5 Champions League medals, 3 La Liga titles, and a world record transfer fee that he justified with moments of genuine brilliance. His final years were complicated by injuries and conflict with Zinedine Zidane, but when it mattered most, Bale delivered. Ryan Giggs. 24 years at Manchester United, 963 competitive appearances, 13 Premier League titles, more than any player in history. The goal against Arsenal in the 1999 FA Cup semi-final replay, dribbling past 5 defenders from the halfway line before burying it past David Seaman. 2 Champions League medals. Never sent off in his entire club career. He started as the quickest winger in English football and finished as a playmaking central midfielder, adapting his game across 3 decades. His longevity defied logic. At 40, he was still influencing title races. Arjen Robben, the ultimate one-trick pony who transcended his limitations. Everyone knew he'd cut inside onto his left foot. Everyone knew the curling shot was coming, and still, nobody could stop it. 8 Bundesliga titles. The 2013 Champions League final winner against Dortmund in the 89th minute. Vintage Robben. Predictable, unstoppable. His partnership with Frank Ribéry, nicknamed Robbery, terrorized Europe for a decade. He came agonizingly close to a World Cup winners' medal in 2010, denied by Iker Casillas in a one-on-one. The 2014 World Cup semi-final run, destroying Spain 5-1 in the group stage. Only 5 players have ever completed 100+ dribbles at World Cup finals. Robben is one of them, alongside Messi, Maradona, Jairzinho, and Kempes. Vinicius Jr., on the verge of level 7, held back by recent inconsistency. Champions League final goals in 2022 and 2024, the youngest player to score in 2 finals, beating Messi's record by 13 days. The 2023 to 2024 season was elite. 24 goals across all competitions, a hat-trick in the Supercopa final against Barcelona, named UEFA Champions League Player of the Season. Then came the Ballon d'Or snub. Since that October 2024 ceremony that Real Madrid boycotted, his form has dipped. A 15-game assist drought in La Liga. Whistles from sections of the Bernabeu. But he's 24. Named FIFA's Best Men's Player for 2024. The raw ability, explosive acceleration, fearless one-on-one attacking, ice-cold finishing on the biggest stages suggests level 7 remains within reach. Lamine Yamal. At 17 during Euro 2024, Yamal delivered performances that belong to players a decade older. The curling goal against France in the semi-final, scored 4 days before his 17th birthday, announced a generational talent. Youngest goalscorer in European Championship history by more than a year. Youngest player to appear in a Euro final. 4 assists across the tournament, more than anyone. The 2024-25 season continued the trajectory. Youngest El Clasico goalscorer in history. He's at level 6 now because sustained excellence across multiple seasons hasn't been possible yet. But Barcelona coaches describe him as a talent that comes along every 50 years. Anyone watching knows where he's heading. Match winners don't just produce, they decide. When everything matters most, they deliver moments that define careers. Level 7. The unplayable. There's no defensive scheme that stops them, no tactical adjustment that contains them. When they decide to dominate, the opposition can only watch and hope they miss. Ronaldinho. Between 2004 and 2006, football wasn't fair. The standing ovation from Real Madrid fans at the Santiago Bernabeu on November 19, 2005, after his 2-goal destruction of their team, tells you everything. It was the first time Barcelona fans had seen that happen since Diego Maradona. Iker Casillas shook his head and shrugged as if to say, "How do we stop him?" He won back-to-back FIFA World Player of the Year awards, the 2005 Ballon d'Or, a Champions League title in 2006, beating Arsenal in the final. He did it all with a smile that made the game look like pure joy. No-look passes, elasticos at full speed, overhead kicks for fun. Samuel Eto'o watched one of his goals that night and muttered to himself, "But what is happening?" Real Madrid had actually considered signing him before Barcelona, but rejected him for being too ugly to market. So they signed Beckham instead. The universe has a sense of humor. George Best. The original superstar winger, the fifth Beatle. Manchester United scout Bob Bishop telegrammed Matt Busby, "Boss, I think I found you a genius." At 22, Best won the Ballon d'Or and scored in the 1968 European Cup final, the first won by an English club 10 years after Munich. 179 goals in 470 appearances. His personal battles cut his peak short, but at his best, even Pelé called him the greatest footballer in the world. Neymar, the heir apparent who never quite claimed the throne. At Barcelona alongside Messi and Suarez, he formed the most devastating front three in modern football. 364 combined goals in 3 seasons. The 2014-15 Champions League triumph saw him score in the final against Juventus, completing a treble. His technical ability, the elasticos, the rabonas, the sheer audacity of his skill moves made him the most entertaining player of his generation. The €222 million transfer to PSG in 2017 was supposed to establish him as the world's best. Brilliant and unplayable at times, but injuries derailed everything. Metatarsal fractures, ankle ligament tears. Between 2019 and 2023, he missed more games through injury than he played. When healthy, the talent remained undeniable. 118 goals in 173 PSG appearances, a Copa America in 2019, Brazil's all-time leading scorer with 79 goals. But real football immortality demands sustained dominance. Neymar's peak came in flashes. Brilliant, breathtaking flashes that hinted at what could have been if his body had cooperated. Lionel Messi. Some will argue Messi wasn't a winger. They're partially right. By the time his career peaked, he devolved into something that defied positional classification. But his foundation was built on the right wing. Under Frank Rijkaard at Barcelona from 2004 to 2008, the young Messi played almost exclusively as a right winger, cutting inside onto his left foot, while Ronaldinho dominated from the left. This was where he learned to play at the highest level, destroying Benfica with a solo goal at 19, being called the best young player Fabio Capello had ever seen. Guardiola eventually moved him central into the false nine role for the famous 6-2 destruction of Real Madrid in May 2009. But even then, Messi spent significant periods returning to the right wing. The later MSN era, alongside Suarez and Neymar, saw him operating a free role from the right flank again. 8 Ballon d'Or awards, 4 Champions League titles, a World Cup. The numbers defy comprehension. And the winger who terrorized fullbacks from 2004 to 2009, before he became something else entirely, was already operating at a level football hadn't seen. Cristiano Ronaldo. And here we arrive at the conclusion. Because if we're ranking wingers specifically, the winger version of Cristiano Ronaldo might be the most complete player to ever occupy that position. At Manchester United between 2003 and 2009, Ronaldo transformed from a frustrating, step-over-happy teenager into the Premier League's most devastating attacker. The 2007-08 season, when he scored 42 goals from the right wing, remains one of the greatest individual campaigns in Premier League history. The pace, the power, the heading ability, the free kicks, the sheer variety of ways he could hurt defenses. Then he moved to Real Madrid and dominated La Liga with equal ruthlessness. The first 4 seasons in Spain, before he began transitioning into a more central role, produced goals and performances that established him as the most complete winger the game had ever seen. Here's the key distinction. Ronaldo's winger peak dominated the 2 hardest leagues in world football. England and Spain, conquered from wide positions. As a pure winger, across multiple leagues and multiple systems, Ronaldo has the strongest case for the greatest ever. That's it. Levels aren't always permanent. Antony went from level 1 at United to something far better at Betis. Raheem Sterling went from level 5 to level 3 as his career progressed in the wrong direction. Garnacho could climb out of level 1 if he learns to play within a team. Did we get it right? Where does your favorite winger rank? Should Salah be level 7? Is Saka underrated? Does Beckham deserve to be higher? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this one, you'll love what's coming next.